10 Common English Phrasal Verbs with come from espressoenglish.net. Number 1. Come across means to find something by accident. For example, when I was cleaning my room, I came across my middle school diaries. Number 2. Come along means to accompany someone when going somewhere. For example, we're going to get ice cream. Want to come along? Number 3. Come back means return. For example, he's still hoping his ex-girlfriend will come back to him even after all these years. Number 4. Come off. When something becomes separated or unstuck from another thing. For example, the paint is starting to come off the wall in the kitchen. Number 5. Come on. The phrasal verb come on has multiple uses, but when used as an exclamation, it can be encouragement for someone to do something, or it can mean something like stop being ridiculous. For example, I don't want to dance. I'm no good at it. Everyone will laugh at me. Oh, come on. Nobody here cares whether or not you can dance. Number 6. Come out means appear or leave the inside of a place. For example, it's cloudy right now, but the sun should come out later. My little brother is hiding under the covers and doesn't want to come out. Number 7. Come over means come to someone's house. For example, if you come over tomorrow after school, I'll help you with your homework. Number 8. Come through means produce or deliver a result. For example, I thought my favorite basketball team would lose the game, but the offense came through and scored 15 points in the last 5 minutes. Number 9. Come up means appear, often used for when a task or responsibility appears unexpectedly, or when a topic appears in a discussion. For example, I'm sorry I missed your birthday party. Something came up at the last minute and I couldn't go. I thought someone would mention the policy change, but it didn't come up during the meeting. Number 10. Come up with means create or invent something. For example, every time I ask him to do something, he always comes up with a list of excuses for why he can't do it. Do you want to learn phrasal verbs the natural way? Check out the Phrasal Verbs and Conversation course at espressoenglish.net. It will help you learn phrasal verbs easily and naturally in the context of everyday spoken English. Visit espressoenglish.net and check out the Phrasal Verbs and Conversation course. 10 phrasal verbs with the word fall from espressoenglish.net. Phrasal verbs are combinations of a verb plus a preposition. Today, you're going to learn all of these different phrasal verbs. Let's get started. Number 1. Fall apart. Fall apart has 2 meanings. It can mean when an object literally breaks into pieces. For example, that chair is so old it looks like it will fall apart if anyone sits on it. In the picture, you can see a chair that has fallen apart. It has broken into pieces. The other meaning of fall apart is when a person becomes emotionally upset and incapable of behaving normally. For example, after Tanya's husband left her, she completely fell apart. This means her heart is in pieces emotionally. Number 2. Fall back. Fall back means to retreat, to go back, especially when an army retreats from its previous position. For example, the general ordered the soldiers to fall back to a safer location. Number 3. Fall back on. Fall back on refers to when you have the option to use something else if other plans are not successful. So, for example, if I don't get this job, I still have my freelance work to fall back on. The freelance work is the backup plan. It's the second option that I can depend on if I don't get the job. So to fall back on something means to use your second option or second plan if your first choice doesn't work out. Number 4, fall behind. If you fall behind, it means you don't make sufficient progress to stay on schedule. For example, we fell behind on the project and finished it 10 days late. Numbers 5 and 6, fall down and fall over. Both of these phrasal verbs mean when a person or structure falls to the ground. For example, the skaters fell down in the middle of their performance. You can see in the picture that the skaters have fallen down. Here's another example. The ladder fell over when he tried to climb it. Number 7, fall for. This phrasal verb also has 2 meanings. When you fall for a person, it means you fall in love. You develop a romantic attraction to that person. For example, I think I'm falling for Jeremy. I just can't stop thinking about him. Fall for can also mean to believe a lie or a story that is false. For example, Vivian told the teacher that she missed class because her dog was sick, and the teacher fell for it. This means the teacher believed Vivian's false story. Number 8, fall off. We use fall off when something detaches from a bigger object. In the picture, you can see the wheels falling off the vehicle. Here's another example. My glasses fell off when I bent down to pick up the paper from the floor. Number 9, fall out. We use fall out when something accidentally goes out of some enclosed space, like a box or basket. For example, "Excuse me, is this your wallet? It fell out of your pocket." We also use fall out for children's teeth. When children are young, they lose their baby teeth, and we say the tooth has fallen out. The other meaning of fall out is to have an argument with someone and then be angry with each other. For example, John left the company after falling out with his business partner. We can also use the expression have a falling out with the person. For example, I had a falling out with my best friend and now she's not speaking to me. And number 10, fall through. Fall through means to be unsuccessful. We usually use this phrasal verb with plans. For example, we were going to travel to Russia, but our plans fell through because we couldn't get a visa. So, our plans fell through means our plans were unsuccessful and they had to be canceled. Are you ready to review the phrasal verbs from today's lesson? Click on the link in the video to take a phrasal verb quiz. And you can learn a lot more phrasal verbs in my course, Phrasal Verbs in Conversation. This course is unique because it teaches you the phrasal verbs inside dialogues so that you can learn them in context, and there are lots of exercises to help you practice. Click on the link in the video for more information. 10 English phrasal verbs with play from espressoenglish.net. One verb in English can be followed by various prepositions to make many different phrasal verbs. So, you might know the basic meaning of the verb play sports, play the piano, etc. But do you know what it means to play at something or play along with something? Today you'll learn 10 different phrasal verbs with the word play. There are also questions to help you form your own sentences and put the phrasal verbs into practice. Let's get started. Play against. We use the phrasal verb play against when two people or two sports teams compete in a game or match. For example, whichever team wins this game will go on to play against Brazil in the championship. Sometimes people eliminate the word against and simply say, Argentina is playing Brazil in the championship. Now put it into practice. Think about a memorable game of your favorite sports team. Who were they playing against at the time? Play along. If you play along, it means you pretend to agree or accept something in order to keep someone happy. For example, I don't like the way my manager conducts our departmental meetings, but I just play along so as not to cause trouble. Now put it into practice. Describe a time when you played along. In general, do you prefer to play along or do you prefer to express your disagreement, and why? Play around. To play around means to be silly, not being serious. For example, okay everybody, let's stop playing around and get to work. Play around can also mean to be sexually promiscuous or unfaithful. For example, she divorced her husband of 30 years after finding out that he was playing around with his secretary. Another phrasal verb for this is messing around. It's an informal way to say doing sexual activities. Now put it into practice. When was the last time you were playing around in a silly way? Play back. We use play back for listening to or watching something you've previously recorded. For example, when I played back the recording of the interview, I noticed there was a lot of background noise from traffic. Now put it into practice. Do you ever record audio or video and play it back later? Play at. If you play at something, it means you pretend to be doing it, or you do it just a little bit, but you don't give very much effort. For example, he's just playing at writing a book. I don't think he's really serious about it. After play at, we use the ing form of the verb, playing at writing a book. Now put it into practice. Have you ever played at doing something but not really taken it seriously? Or do you know someone else who does this? Play on or play upon. These phrasal verbs mean to try to take advantage of something, especially an emotion. For example, the politician's speech plays on the deepest fears of the voters. Now put it into practice. Think about a movie or book that emotionally impacted you. What feelings does this movie or book play on? You can also use play on to talk about somebody playing on a sports team. In this case, play for can also be used. For example, she plays on the college basketball team in the winter. He's from Portugal, but he plays for the Spanish volleyball team. Play out. The phrasal verb play out describes a situation progressing until the end. For example, my sister and my mom are mad at each other, but I don't want to take sides. I'll just wait and see how the situation plays out. Now put it into practice. What's a situation where you're currently waiting to see how it plays out? Play up and play down. If you play something up, it means you try to make it seem more important or draw more emphasis to it. And if you play it down, it means you try to make it seem less important or draw less emphasis to it. For example, makeup can help you play up your natural beauty. During the interview, she tried to play down the fact that she was fired from her last job. Now put it into practice. Describe a time when you have tried to play something up or play something down. Play with. To play with something means to touch it and move it for fun, or simply to occupy your hands. For example, the little boys were playing with some action figures. We use this phrasal verb for toys. She plays with her hair when she's nervous. Also, if you are playing with your food, it means you move the food around on your plate and you don't eat very much. Now put it into practice. What toys did you like to play with when you were a child? Phrasal verbs can be really hard to remember since they're all so similar: play at, play up, play out, etc. If you just try to memorize these phrasal verbs, it'll be very difficult to keep them straight and not confuse them. That's why I encourage you to put the phrasal verbs into practice as much as possible. In my Phrasal Verbs in Conversation course, you'll get a lot of practice. The lessons start with a dialogue showing you how the phrasal verbs are used, and then I explain each one and give more examples. After that, you can take a quiz to review the phrasal verbs and then answer the questions to start using the phrasal verbs in your own English. If you're a student in the course, you can send me your sentences and I'll check and correct them. Visit espressoenglish.net, click on Courses, and look for Phrasal Verbs in Conversation.